So welcome back to my website. This is a lot easier for me to just talk to a camera instead of typing all that information down, so hopefully you're getting use out of it. I'm always trying to figure out how to incorporate ways to help people out who don't have access to Designer, so this is my best try at it. The next question, the question we have right now is from Vela. And she says, Kenneth, I was putting up crown molding and two corners were cut incorrectly. The corners were patched, but it still does not look right. Don't want to waste the corner molding. What can I do to hide it? It's very funny. I know it's not funny. This is a very serious thing. The truth is, a lot of times, and look, I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of times things like this are only obvious to you because during a project you recognize something and you just can't stop looking at it. But when people come over, I guarantee you they're not staring at your molding, they're looking at other things. So sometimes you have to really step back and say, okay, is it really that bad? And if it is, then you're going to need to replace it and fix it or else it's going to drive you crazy. And your sanity is the most important thing in your home. Now, if it's a matter of it being a little off, a good painter or somebody with a really great sanding machine or like a hand sander, you can actually sand down profiles of molding like you can teeth. I always say that because I remember my dentist once told me that he could file down my tooth to make it even. I was like, what? But it's the same concept. You file down some of the corners of the molding enough to where it sort of blends together. A good caulk job, a little white caulk with your finger to sort of fill in the gaps, and a nice coat of paint could really help hide the imperfection. Another trick we do in design is if you try to hide imperfections, the paint you need to use is more of a satin finish. Because when you use a high gloss finish, you call out the imperfections. So you also want to think about the paint finish on it. If you really need to hide it and you can't do any of the above, I suggest you put a big tall tree in the corner that is really nice and all you see is the tree and the molding is hiding behind it. Just make sure that the tree is an indoor tree and that you water it regularly because there's nothing worse than you go into somebody's house and seeing a tree that looks like it's on life support. It's depressing. Okay, that's my advice for molding. Thanks, Val. Joan, she says, I am perplexed about what color walls or wallpaper I should use in my kitchen. The cabinets are maple with a glaze that has produced a pink tone to the cabinets. Countertops are black, floor is oak stained dark, woodwork is white, and the room faces east. I don't like the pink tone of the cabinets. I don't either. How can I offset the pink? What color do you recommend for paint or wallpaper? Let me repeat this. You're perplexed about wallpaper or color because your cabinets turned out looking a little too pink. You have black counters, stained floors that are dark, white woodwork, and the room faces east. I don't like the pink tone. How else is it? What color? Okay. Well, the color to offset or pull the pink out of a room would actually be to think about bringing in more of a green, but my biggest fear about doing anything green is that it's going to be a little too dark because you face east. That's morning sun. So what I suggest you do is I suggest you go with a really rich warm color to pull in your floors. I think you need to go with a tan, something that's going to have a nice rich brown base in it that's going to pull that glaze away from being pink and more into the honey color. And I think that's the best way to go about doing it. That way, your walls will be darker than your cabinets, and the white trim will become very obvious and very pretty. Look at, I think there's a color called Macadamia from Sherwin-Williams. There's a color right below it that's a little darker. Test a patch of that next to your cabinets and see what happens to that glaze, and let me know if that works. Another thing, your lighting. If you're using fluorescent lighting, you might be using cool-toned bulbs. You need to look at warm-toned bulbs for fluorescent lighting. If it's not fluorescent lighting, make sure that your recessed lights are not those pink or red bulbs. Those are very popular now, and people sometimes don't know they're putting it in. You need to stick with a halogen bulb that produces pure white light. Remember, warm bulbs that are fluorescent. Okay, because light bulbs can definitely make things look pink. Okay. How are we doing there? We have time for one more, says Min, who's just behind the camera. Here we are. Tasha. Hi, Kenneth. I have a major dilemma. I just recently painted, totally tan from Sherwin-Williams, My living room and dining room, I'm stuck. I'm not sure where to go from here. The color is beautiful and warm, which I wanted. I'm open to anything at this point. Not sure what colors to bring in the room and furniture. Any assist will be greatly appreciated. Wow, this sounds like a wide open question here. So you have beautiful walls, which is great. That's the best thing to start with is your envelope. And they're totally tan. I think the best thing for you to think about now is what are your favorite colors? Ask yourself, do I like tangerine? Do I like green? Do I like blue? Do I like pink? Because your tan walls are a palette that's open for anything. The one thing you need to think about, though, is the color can come in small doses. That's draperies, pillows, small pieces of furniture. So I suggest that what you do is you really find your favorite accent colors. Go to a store like Z Gallery, who has a great way of merchandising things in colorways. Pick a few items, take them home, place them in the room. They can sit on the floor, live with it for a while, see which colors resonate for you, and that's your accent color. That's your accent color. Move you to the next step to where you can bring in your bigger pieces, which should be neutral colors.